And this is America's Mayor Live, and live from New Hampshire. And we are torn between two really important things that are going on of great relevance to us. One is the military action in the Middle East. Israel is now in a second or third wave of attacks on Iran after having absorbed a retaliatory attack by Iran, which was probably Iran's biggest military action, if not ever, certainly since the Iran-Iraq War. The strike last night was the biggest strike on Iran since the Iran-Iraq War, and possibly the biggest strike on Iran ever. And it was very, very successful for a first strike. It took out the upper echelon of the upper echelon of the Revolutionary Guard, which is the Ayatollah's #1 protection. It took out the chief of staff of the Air Force. It took out at least six nuclear scientists. It did significant damage to at least 3 of the major nuclear enrichment facilities. The death toll was, according to Iran, about 73, 74 in Tehran alone. We don't know what it is for the entire country. And the injuries were over 300 in Tehran alone. Again, at least 7 or 8 sites were hit significantly. Most of them being either uranium enrichment centers or military facilities that are significant, particularly for the defense of Iran. And then a significant number, we don't know exactly how many, of the leadership, military and political leadership of that dictatorship and terrorist country. The response by Iran took place today, and they fired well over 100 missiles and probably even more drone devices. The vast majority were intercepted and destroyed. In fact, the majority were destroyed before they reached Israel. But more than you would like did reach Israel. They still were destroyed. And then some did get through. So Israel had casualties. They were reporting earlier something like 20 or 22 casualties and something like 40 or 50 serious injuries. I don't know if that number hasn't changed a bit. And then a few hours ago, they instituted a third wave of attacks on Iran, again aimed at the nuclear enrichment facilities, including now the one in Fordo. Natanz was the one they hit last night. They hit Natanz again today. I imagine they're not satisfied that they've taken it out completely. And I think that attack is still continuing. Don't know if Iran's attack on Israel seemed to have stopped a few hours ago. I don't know if it's continuing now. The other bit of news that is breaking, or that is significant, is the Marines have now become involved in Los Angeles in a I see what we put up, the pictures of the Mohammad Bagheri, who was the chief of the Air Force, and Salami, who was the head of the IRGC, and one of the nuclear scientists as well. I think 6 of the nuclear scientists were ultimately killed, if I'm correct. Exactly how many they have at that level, I don't know. The last time Israel did that, with the help of the Iranian dissident forces, as General Keane made very, very clear today on Fox. I've never heard it made as clear as he made it, that the Mossad is enormously effective, he said, for two reasons. Number one, they don't leak. Maybe that's a little indication to our CIA, right? And FBI as to how to be more effective. And number two, they rely greatly on native forces. And in Iran, they've developed at least a 3-decade relationship with a dissident group called MEK that was the source of the original information about Iran enriching uranium. For that, they've been repaid by a State Department that hates them, the United States State Department. Well, I mean, of course they do. Iran is supported by the United States. On one hand, they're our enemy. On the other hand, we're their chief financier, at least when Democrats are in office. Between Obama and Biden, we've given them hundreds of billions of dollars. A lot of that money is now being used to attack Israel, and God forbid it goes any further, it'll be used to attack Americans. It has been used to attack Americans in the past. When Obama was sending them millions and millions in cash, some of that money was being used by Soleimani to kill our troops. And for some reason, that didn't seem to bother Obama, nor did it end up in his being put in prison, which would have been what would have happened to anyone under normal circumstances if we had the kind of government we used to have and not a Democrat dictatorship, which was imposed, at least starting with Obama, on us, and a complete degradation of our rights, which is very, very significant, isn't it? So I'd ask Ted if you could, because I can't seem to get this working here, if you could take a look at what is going on right now. The last I checked, Israel was still, but what I'd really like to find out is, has the Iranian attack ended, or is it still going on? I have no idea what's happening to this silly thing. But in any event, it's not working very well. But why don't we show that? This is an attack on Tel Aviv by. You know, they did quite a bit of damage, but the ones that got through didn't they? So unlike Israel, and I wonder if the world press will pick this up. Unlike Israel, which has focused quite a disciplined way on the enrichment facilities, the missile facilities, the military facilities, and the leadership of the military and the atomic scientists. They're just hitting civilian. That's just a civilian building. That's an apartment building that they hit. It's an interesting choice they've made too, which indicates to me that they have very strained resources. If you think through this, if you were running the military of Iran, of course, he's dead, the person who was running it. Whoever is running it, the number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or maybe a child, I don't know. Who's ever running it, the first thing you would try to do is degrade the Israeli military, particularly its Air Force and its military units that are involved in setting off the missiles and drones that are bombing the hell out of Iran at a rate, maybe in terms of the damage done, of about 10 to 1. Well, you'd be taking that out the way Israel is. You'd want to progressively reduce that, if you were lucky, to nothing. But by any amount you could reduce it, the longer you're going to survive, or you're going to be able to prevail. They're not doing that. They're doing terror attacks. They're hitting Tel Aviv. Well, you could take Tel Aviv out and not going to do anything about the Israeli ability to hit you. Israel also supposedly has 90 atomic weapons. As far as we know, they don't have any yet. One would think they try to hit those sites. No, they're hitting Tel Aviv. They're hitting, the main business city of Israel. I haven't heard of attacks on the military facilities in Israel, or even more importantly, the facilities that are used to operate Iron Dome and the other defense systems, as well as the offensive systems. Maybe they don't know it. I doubt that they have the intelligence capacity that Israel. I know they don't. I shouldn't doubt it. They don't. They put a lot more of their money into propaganda than they do into intelligence, and they are fabulous at propaganda. I mean, they've been able to turn the opinion of the world on their side. Every one of the usual suspects that tends toward Marxism, which means our European allies. I mean, a good many of them are condemning Israel. You wonder what side of the world they're on. It's really tragic. So Israel has been saying for quite some time that Hamas kills Palestinians. That many of the Palestinians killed that are attributed to Israel were killed by Hamas. Now, there is a group that died that's on the casualty list. That happened because Hamas doesn't know how to shoot rockets. You remember way back near the beginning of the war when Israel was accused of taking out a hospital in Gaza. And it turned out that the New York Times had to apologize for that. The New York Times shouldn't just apologize. It should just fold up because it hasn't reported the truth since before Hitler. But in any event, the Times had to apologize for it because what had happened was a Hamas or one of their allied terrorist groups shot off a missile that backfired and hit the hospital. They killed their own people. Well, do you know that 20 to 25% of their rockets that they shot towards Israel backfired? Nobody has given you a list of how many of those casualties that are counted as casualties of this war were killed by them. Or how about this? So an aid group reported that Hamas on I guess it was on Wednesday, went to a distribution site that was being conducted by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And they were giving out food and other kinds of like clothing and things for survival. And Hamas military unit just began shooting and killing them. So they killed 8 people, 8 Palestinian citizens, and they've injured 21 of them. And they were taken to the hospital in Khan Yunis. And this is confirmed by Sama Hamed. Israel is not reporting on this. Sama Hamed, the director of criminal evidence in the Khan Yunis governorate, said the Nasser hospital received 11 bodies from Western Khan Yunis, an area where JHF said the incident occurred. Hamed said the 9 bodies had been identified so far. The gunshot wounds to the chest, head, and the legs. And the Hamas had issued a directive last week that no one should take anything from any food, any items to assist them or help them from any group other than Hamas. And that if they were, they would take decisive and uncompromising action against them. And they repeated the threat on Sunday, and this happened on on Wednesday. Now, in case you think this is Israeli propaganda, This was actually a report directly to the Wall Street Journal by a Palestinian, the owner of a local Palestinian company. Was an eyewitness to this and disclosed it to the Wall Street Journal. And he said that at least 8 people died, and a large number were wounded, were taken to the Nasser Hospital in the central part of Khan Yunis. And then, of course, the person at the hospital confirmed that that was the case. So I don't know if there's video covering this. I'm sure that over the course of time, the IDF will get their hands on it if there is. But this has been going on throughout the war, of course, not reported by the corrupt left-wing, communist, pro-Islamic extremist European press or American press. So I don't know exactly how this will be dealt with, but it'll be ignored. It'll be completely ignored. I mean, Israel is not killing its own people, nor are they deliberately killing civilians. They're doing everything they can not to kill civilians. And Hamas is doing everything they can to get civilians killed because they know it works as a propaganda device against them with the moronic Western media and elite. Now, back here in the United States, as I said, the Marines have now been engaged to help assist the ICE agents who are in great jeopardy in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles and the Los Angeles political hierarchy considers ICE to be Nazis, which just inflames the protesters and the what shall we call them? The criminals, who then think they can spit at them, shoot them, kill them, beat them up. The government of Los Angeles as a sanctuary city will have nothing to do with helping or assisting them. And as a result of that, mainly the president, dispatched the National Guard. Well, a left-wing whack judge yesterday, you remember, are getting very angry about it, who is the brother of former Supreme Court Justice Breyer, who I don't remember Breyer being this crazy, decided to order the president to release the National Guard and turn him over to none other than Pretty Boy Newsom. Now, I mean, the guy's bad enough without having a National Guard to command. And I don't know what he would do with them. They'd probably make some kind of a video that he could put on TikTok, I would imagine, so that his good friend Xi Jinping could get a close look at it. Remember, he went to visit Xi Jinping before, when he was deciding whether to run for president, to get advice. I guess he figures maybe he can score the way Biden did with him. So this judge, who has got to be, the decision is so intellectually dishonest. I mean, it's completely insane for a federal judge, and then to pompously say that Trump is acting like a monarch. And he told the government lawyers, don't they understand that this government has limits? It does have limits. And in this particular case, there's not any doubt that any competent lawyer or person who can read the Constitution and the Federalist Papers would say, yes, it does have limits, including on your branch of government. And here, there's a limit on your branch of government to not interfere with what are called the political branches. This is a classic case of the judiciary should have no role here. The presidents have done this 30 times without jackasses like you intervening, or communists like you, or whatever the hell you are. Well, I mean, it got reversed really quick. The Ninth Circuit is not exactly the best place for Donald Trump or me or any kind of Republican of any kind, but it got reversed within 2 hours. Maybe with a recommendation, they sent him to a hospital, or maybe to law school. And the Ninth Circuit a panel gave extended in essence the refusal to act on Newsom's request for restraining order. I believe they held it over until Tuesday of next week, which, in a way, if you think about it, if things work out, this whole thing might be over by then, right? So it becomes an academic question rather than an ongoing question. But that's when they're going to hear argument on this. So if you consider that lengthy period of time that they used, as opposed to the left-wing lapdog judge who took it up immediately, they pretty much have practically decided this case. I don't know what's going to happen in Los Angeles, but I can't imagine this is going to continue until that would be 3-4 more days. Then, of course, they could extend things even more by taking a little while to make a decision. Well, in any event, the President of the United States is still the commander-in-chief. There are judges that actually can read that in the Constitution and not read it out. That's a lot clearer that the president is the commander-in-chief and the Supreme Court has the right to declare laws unconstitutional. I can find in the Constitution the words commander-in-chief. I can't find in the Constitution the power to review the constitutionality of laws. Now, I agree that they have that power, but that was created by Justice Marshall. So one you can be a lot more certain of than the other. But this completely, well, typical now Democrat judge. Need I bother telling you he's a Democrat judge? I actually don't know. I don't know what's wrong with the Democrats on the federal judiciary. What's happened to them? I mean, the ones in the District of Columbia are an outrage. I mean, that court should be investigated for the persecution of the January 6th people. They didn't prosecute them, they persecuted them. I mean, yeah, sure, there were some guilty people, but there were a lot of innocent people. And even the guilty ones were being put in jail and not allowed bail and held under terrible conditions of confinement and not given fair trials. And I mean, one law that they applied to has already been reversed, but a lot of them have done time on it. But a completely illegal application of the law that any sensible judge would have figured out in 2 seconds. But nobody wants to look at them. You know, the idea is you can't interfere with the judiciary. Well, wait a second. When they've completely run over your rights, and they no longer actually believe they have any limits on what they can do, which is what this judge just demonstrated. He used the concept of limitation. He seems to understand it, but he doesn't seem to think that the checks and balances in the Constitution have anything to do with the judiciary. He's a king. So, I mean, it's really much like Biden and the Democrats who accuse us of doing what they did. The best one being Russian collusion when they were engaged in massive Ukrainian collusion. And Trump had nothing to do with Russian collusion. And even though they spent $100 million trying to prove it, they proved the opposite. Well, this guy must have the same looking in the mirror reflex action of blaming you for what he does, because he sarcastically referred to the president as the monarch. And don't you understand there are limits? Well, yeah, there are. They apply to you and you're the monarch. Would you like a crown? I mean, to go with the bow tie? That'd be an interesting picture. It'd be like George III. Maybe this guy has a future playing George III in Hamilton. If you've ever seen Hamilton, sounds like he's about as serious as that. This is a This is a mark on his judicial career that will never go away, proving that he isn't really an American judge, that this guy be more comfortable in some kind of a ideological dictatorship where ideology trumps law. Sorry for the use of the word Trump. President Trump, very carefully, without insulting anybody, and he's become so much more diplomatic. He's made from the very beginning, he has said that these efforts should be concentrated on the illegal immigrant criminals. Now, actually, during most of the campaign, he didn't say that. During most of the campaign, it is true that he said that basically it can be the biggest deportation in American history. And I don't remember during the campaign, maybe near the end, a specific concentration on criminals. I didn't think it was necessary because it's obvious. I was a prosecutor and I exercised prosecutorial discretion. I understand what that is, and I also understand how you can distort it. Well, prosecutorial discretion is necessary because you can't prosecute everything. First of all, you don't find out about everything. In fact, you don't find out about most of what happens. If you catch a guy for a crime, he's probably committed 10 you don't know about. And then there are so many different crimes of varying degrees of damage to society. You can't prosecute all of them. Even the broken windows theory that says you should prosecute smaller crimes so that people don't sort of develop a disrespect for the law and it escalates into greater crimes, basically doesn't say you prosecute all of them. You can't. You shouldn't set up an area of law where people feel they're immune from that law being prosecuted. That's what the broken windows theory practically really means. And left-wingers set up wide ranges of the law where criminals, the guy who became DA in New York wanted to do it for beating up police. And he had to withdraw that, although he does do that. I mean, basically, he lets everybody out, which is, Adams somehow has gotten crime down, and Police Commissioner Tisch, to their credit, but I don't know how they do it with a DA like that. But in any event, when you exercise prosecutorial discretion, you decide, well, I've got a certain number of resources. I'm going to concentrate on this. I won't disregard cases, but I'm going to prosecute a lot more in the category where there's a great deal of damage done to society than the one in which there's not nearly as much. So that's a very, very comfortable decision for a prosecutor. He's making it all the time. Hopefully he knows or she knows they're making it, because then it's made in a fair way. Sometimes it's made helter-skelter and it's terrible. But so you have this basic problem. Do you treat the illegal alien, because that's what they're called in the law, and I'm sorry, I'm going to describe it the way it's described in the law and not play the left-wing 1984 communist change the meaning of words game. So, do you treat the illegal alien that's here, came in illegally, and is working at a gas station, making a living, has 2 kids that were born here, and is paying his taxes and works 2 jobs? He works at a gas station during the day, and he's a security guard at night. But he's illegal. He came in from, Mexico. And he got himself across the border with a whole group of other people 5 or 6 years ago. was fairly enterprising, got himself these jobs. Maybe he's getting an education on the side. He got married. He's got 2 kids, and they're citizens because of the birthright citizenship. And even if you change birthright citizenship, you're probably not going to show that he deliberately came here just to have a kid. It would be hard to say that. And maybe he's married to an American citizen. Let's say he is, right? So he is subject to deportation. There's no question about it. There's not even an issue. There's no exception for a guy who's married, or there's no statute of limitations. There's no, you could be here 30 years and you're still subject. Look at the Nazis who were here. They just threw it out. So do you treat him the same as the Nicaragua guy who gets caught? He came across the border at the invitation of Joe Biden. He's already been caught sexually abusing 3 girls, and now he stabbed somebody. You treat them both the same? Of course you don't. You got to prioritize and put the trendy Nicaragua guy at least first. And then the others, I don't know. It is a very tough question. It is an extraordinarily tough question. At various times in my career, I have, had to answer it practically. When I was mayor of New York, I faced a situation which I had to reduce crime. And I did it, I may say so, more effective than anybody in history. And I'll tell you what I did about the illegals. But they were different illegals then. There weren't anywhere near as many criminal illegals as a percentage of the illegals. They were still illegals that were criminals, but probably at a lesser percentage than American citizens, and nowhere near the number now. I don't know what the number is now. Nobody does, because the people who came in, we don't know who they are. And as I said, we don't catch anywhere near every criminal. So it would be, I can tell you statistics like 60% of the crime in Queens County about 3-4 months ago were illegals. So I know this is a significant group. So there's no question that with limited resources, the focus should be on the criminal illegal alien, because we have limited resources, not as limited as they used to be. So when I was the mayor of New York, the most the Immigration Service was capable of deporting from New York, biggest number they ever got to was 2,000. I was told that I had 400,000 illegals. So what am I going to do? Tell them, oh, go look for the guy working in the back of Sardi's restaurant? Throw him out? I got only 2,000 spots here. So I get him to help me with the drug dealer, and I get him to help me with the burglar, and I get him to help me. Now, if the guy's a really bad criminal, then I want him thrown out after I punished him, because you don't want the process of you catch a rapist and you just send him back. Now, maybe we're going to get to the point that we can do that because we're going to have a nice tight border. Right now, we do. I mean, if you could assure me it's going to stay this way forever, I'd say, okay, send him back. I ain't getting in on Trump or Holman. But I don't know what's going to happen in the next election. And we could go back to Biden saying, surge to the border. This was an invited invasion in which unfortunately the federal agents were bastardized into escorts of Radio City Music Hall. Their job was to make it easier for the illegals to come in. Their job was to enhance illegal immigration and to build to an intolerable number, the number of people here that are here illegally. And that's what we're suffering from. To blame this on Trump is absolutely the worst kind of intellectual dishonesty that you could engage in. Trump didn't face this the first time around. Nobody has. Obama didn't face this. Clinton didn't face this. Bush didn't face it. No president has come close to the number of illegals coming in that Biden has. I mean, like in 1 year, he might have done more than came in 20. 3.5 million, I guess, was his big year. That's what we know. Now that 3.5 million gets expanded by the gotaways and the never saw, and that could be double. It's somewhere between 50% more and 100% more. That would be a good rule of thumb that you could use. So that 3.5, it could be 6, 7, could be 8, 9. Plus, we don't know who they are. So that's the issue. What do you think? I don't know there's a right answer to this. I don't know that there's a right answer to I do know, and the exercise of prosecutorial discretion, you've got to concentrate on the criminals before you concentrate on the illegals who have not committed crimes. So I made the case for them very sympathetically. But there's an excellent article by Carolyn Markowitz in the New York Post that makes the case, very compelling case, for the other position. Let me give you some of the statistics that she uses. In 2020, foreign-born Americans trusted Democrats by 32% margin. Today, they trust Republicans by 8%. In 2016, 36% of immigrants voted for Trump. In 2024, 47% of immigrants, now I'm talking about legal immigrants, voted for Trump. And she is maintaining that many of them did that, and that unlike what you think, that they are the strongest supporter of enforcement of the immigration laws as they're written, meaning that people who come in illegally, whether they commit crimes or not, should all be should be subject to deportation. She quotes from Bernie Moreno, the senator who won a really fabulous election in Ohio last year.
We've had him on.
We've had Bernie on, yeah. We were for Bernie before anybody knew what Bernie was.
We were.
Except Bernie.
Yeah. We got to get him back on.
Not true. Bernie was a very well-known man in Ohio and a very good man. So Bernie, just this Wednesday, said the following. I followed the process to come in. He comes from Colombia, by the way. I followed the process to come into this country legally. And by definition, if you didn't follow that process, if you cut the lines, you've broken our laws. If you're in this country illegally, you need to go. That's from a guy who followed the rules, and probably it took a while for him to come in. Carol says people, long to live the American dream, but that dream does not include setting things on fire when you don't get your own way. It doesn't encompass looting or throwing rocks at government officials. But Democrats just don't get it. She says, for example, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker approvingly posted a video from TikToker Vivian Tu, who argued against deporting undocumented immigrants because they do the jobs Americans won't do. The tagline, "Made in America," should be "Made by immigrants." Now, Carol points out very astutely, but note how Tu conveniently switches the terms of her rant from undocumented immigrants to just immigrants. But big difference. The immigrant went through a difficult process to come here and is heavily vetted. With an immigrant, we know if they have a criminal record. With an immigrant, we know if they've been in an insane asylum. With an immigrant, we know that they want to be part of America because they have to express it and talk about it. With an immigrant, we protect our country against people coming in that are going to victimize us. Shouldn't we be doing that? Tell me how that isn't the civilized, humane, decent way to do it, as opposed to let everybody come in when you know you live in a world where there are a lot of evil people. I'm sorry, there are. Want to take a break?
Yeah, but we have this video of this girl. Yeah, let's take a break.
Okay. We'll take a break. Do we have a video of that idiot? Oh, good. Oh, good. It's always good to listen to an idiot. It makes you laugh a little. We'll be back very shortly, and we'll see if we can get an update on what's going on in Israel and what's going on in Los Angeles. I'll check one, and Ted will check the other. Which one do you want? Oh, well, we'll be right back. We'll talk. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know
all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live. So we have an opportunity to check up, and here's what I think is presently going on. Iran continually throughout what would be the morning now, but our evening period of time, has been focusing on Tel Aviv. And a striking difference that isn't being highlighted is that so far, the Iranian focus seems to be on civilian targets, purely civilian targets. The number of dead was at 22. They've just reported a woman in Tel Aviv who died. It might be an additional one, and another, an older man that died. Iran claims they have taken out an IDF general. There is no confirmation of that, and Israel would know if one of the generals was gone. They earlier claimed that they had taken down 2 Israeli planes, but Israel is not missing any plane. And they said they took a female pilot, and but they have all the pilots they sent out. So it's impossible to know when Iran tells you something if it's true. I mean, this is like Hamas. I mean, although it's just reported like little automatons that 50 people were killed and they were all civilians, they're all children. Well, I mean, you can almost be sure that a lot of it is exaggerated and a lie. But at least in situations like this, they're not smart enough to realize that you actually keep. Like if you send out 50 pilots, if 50 come back, well, they didn't shoot down a pilot, unless it was the wrong one of their pilots who looks Jewish. I don't know. Well, they didn't take down a plane so far, and they haven't taken down a pilot. We don't think they've killed a general. They sure have killed some civilians, and that seems to be their focus, because up until a short while ago, they were hitting Tel Aviv. If you look at the attacks, and here's a big difference between the two. If you look at the attacks on Israel, you see a real effort to try to intercept the weapon, right? And you see that they're mostly successful. So you'll see, I mean, the way to look at it, you'll see like a streaking light in the sky. So those have been lit up. Those have been taken out. See those? Those are successes. Of course, you know there's not a success when you see fire on the ground, right? Now there's one heading to the ground. Now, we don't know if that's shrapnel or a missile. You'll find out when you see the explosion. If it's a small fire, it's shrapnel. If it's a big fire, it's a missile. So that's, I mean, if you need some assistance in how to read this thing, but where you see those quick flashes of light, those are mostly successful Iron Dome or the more advanced system interception. So I really, they go too fast to count them. There's no question that the vast majority are intercepted. There's also no question that some are getting through. And all you need, let's say you shoot off 100 of these and 10 get through. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. That isn't catastrophic. It means you're going to destroy the city, but you're going to kill people, particularly if you're doing it in a civilian area. Now, as far as I can tell, with one exception, the major focus of the Israeli attack are the nuclear enrichment facilities, the missile development facilities, military facilities. And here's where some civilians, as a collateral matter, would probably get killed. And that is the upper echelon of the military service, as well as the reign of terror, the main culprits. They're going to, as precisely as they can, hit a civilian target, and you will have civilians that die as a collateral matter. But that's maybe 1/4 or 1/8, really, maybe, of their attack. It isn't the main focus of their attack. The main focus of the Iranian attack is to terrorize the Iranian citizenship, and as far as I can tell, not do much damage to the Israeli military, either their air force or their missile delivery systems, offensive or defensive. One would think they would want to do that to slow down. I mean, I don't know how Israel doesn't look like. I mean, Israel looks like they're just going to keep hitting them. It doesn't seem like they're doing anything. Nor do you see in the skies of Tehran in this case, you don't see any interception of these missiles. The Israeli missiles just hit. If they miss their target, they miss their target. But Iran is doing nothing. Iran does not seem to have a defense system. Now, that actually confirms what was thought last year when Israel claimed that it took out whatever they had of a defensive system. It looks like, unlike Iran, they tell the truth, and they have taken it out. So that makes the efficiency of the Israeli attack considerably greater than the Iranian attack. And with all the damage that Israel is doing to their military facilities, you should see a decrease in the ability of Iran to keep hitting them. I mean, the best defense, well, usually the best defense is a good offense. In the case of Israel, they have one hell of a defense with the Iron Dome and the related facilities. But it looks like they're utilizing both, right? They're on offense against them and taking out. That is Tehran. That's what you call a strike. You don't see anything like that in Tel Aviv. Yes, you see buildings taken out. Yes, you see fires. But that is a missile of very different quality. That looks like an entire half-mile area of the city that was hit. I assume that that's a military facility. Maybe it's not. We'll have to see. If Israel would have hit civilian targets now, of course, people will yell and scream, but there'd be every justification for it, wouldn't there? When you have Iran appearing to focus on only civilians. Well, that's not going to stop. I mean, that fire is not going to stop for quite some time. I don't know exactly what it hit. It says below that it's the Tehran airport where Khomeini's plane is located. I'd like him to hit where Khomeini is located, wouldn't you, Ted? Yeah, that would be subject to celebration. Sorry, you're not supposed to celebrate death. Not when it saves 100,000 potential lives that this guy could take if he stays alive or he passes it on to his son, uninterrupted. Or you have a guy that's killed 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 innocent people. I mean, they're killing people right now. Well, you also should know that there are a significant number of very reliable reports in newspapers like The Guardian but not in America's dishonest newspapers, that there's a significant movement in Iran to overthrow the Ayatollah now. There are, in various cities in Iran, significant activity calling for the overthrow of the government. The way it was described, I believe it was in The Guardian, is there is a great deal of sympathy and concern for the collateral civilian victims, but absolutely no concern for the government officials that are being killed, because there's a fairly widespread hatred of the government in Tehran. And Tehran is the capital city. To a large extent, as you move out of Tehran, the support for the regime goes down. I mean, the further they are from the major source of the evil, the less they're affected by it. So I would imagine there are a large number of people ready to overthrow him. I mean, one of the ways to stop getting bombed is to overthrow him. That's a good reason to stop doing it. And there already, I'm sure, has to be a shortage of food, there's a shortage of food anyway there. I don't know, maybe I'll find for you for tomorrow or for Monday the old videos of people at demonstrations trying to get money by selling one of their organs, which is, of course, a lot more common in China and in Iran and in these communist and uncivilized places than they are in the United States. I mean, China takes organs out of living, well, they don't live for too long, but living human beings and sells them. Usually people they're persecuting, Muslims, Christians, but to a large extent, that's focused on the Falun Gong. So that's a view of Tel Aviv. If that's correct, yes, that's Tel Aviv. I know Tel Aviv.
This is a live view from
I've been to
Tel
Israel
Aviv.
So many times, I'm not sure I can count it accurately. I love the country. Love it. Love the people. Love them since I was a kid, actually.
So this is a
know
live
the
view
history
from
of
Tel
Israel
Aviv.
almost as well as the history of the United States, because I followed it since I was about 10 years old. Remember the wars. Remember staying up late at night as a kid, trying to find out what was happening, and my parents. Always had tremendous admiration for the Israeli people, even before I went there. Once I went there, it was over. Fell in love with the country. It's my number 2 country, not Italy. don't well, you can. It really is. I mean, Italy's a great country too. But this country has the virtue that I admire the most: a big set of clothes, bravery, freedom, unbelievable unity around them. They still have what we had on September 11th, and Obama and Biden took away from us. I don't know how you describe it. Hatred. Isn't a bad word. Not a bad word in Israel. You're supposed to love the country. If you're Jewish and you've never had a homeland or haven't had a homeland for 1,500 years, even when you did, it was taken away from you. And then as a result of that, you almost got eliminated. You're going to love your country. You're not going to let anybody take away from you. This is really a situation in which, that's why I tweeted, what do you call it now? X'd out. I X'd out my view that you could compare Bibi Netanyahu to Churchill, who had to deal with the Battle of Britain and had to deal with really saving England, but before America got in the war, to saving Western civilization from the barbarians, otherwise known as the Nazis. Well, these are barbarians. In fact, they were on the Nazi side in the Second World War. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was one of Hitler's closest allies and friends. I mean, the Arabs and the Muslims hate the Jewish people. Is that a general statement? Too much of a general statement? Yes, it is. Is it completely off the mark? No. Now, you want to live in a make-believe world? Say I'm being prejudiced by saying that. I have nothing against the Muslim people or the Arab people or whatever. I love them. Except when they say kill the Jews and death to America. Or when they sympathize with people who do that. Or when they hold celebrations after 2,000 of my fellow New Yorkers and almost 3,000 of my fellow Americans are destroyed by them. I don't know. I don't get over that. What was that statement in The Godfather? That I don't forgive. To the day I die, I won't forgive it. So it is shocking and disappointing to me that I see in New York, in these demonstrations, and particularly the university demonstrations, but even the demonstrations in general, I see a massive outpouring of anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred. And yes, it is disguised sometimes as anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, which is anti-Semitic, really. But sometimes it's just straight right out anti-Jewish. New York is, I don't know if it still is, but New York was when I was mayor, the biggest Jewish city in the world. We had more Jewish people in New York than they did in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. I used to tell the mayors of both that I had the biggest Jewish city, and they came in second and third. And I was very proud of it. And I am exceedingly grateful for the tremendous contribution made by the Jewish people to New York over centuries. It's one of the reasons why New York is one of the great cities that it is, and many other people. But certainly, one can't ignore the individual contribution of the Jewish people who decided to make New York pretty much their capital in America. So to see, I think I used to tell people, oh, well, that kind of thing doesn't happen in New York, when they would talk about anti-Semitism and that New Yorkers, learn not to be prejudiced because you grow up. I mean, if you're prejudiced, you're going to go crazy. I mean, you get on the subway and you got people from every part of the world there, right? I mean, that's been true, always been true. I mean, it used to be legal. Now, a lot of them are illegal, but even when it was legal, just the mere fact the UN is there. New York has more people from various parts of the world than any other city. No one compares to us. And that's including all the European cities. And it is, to a large extent, the UN has something to do with that, as well as immigration, right? Every nation in the world, just about, is represented in New York. And that tends to bring people from that country in larger numbers than just the people for the UN. And of course, it's always been a city of immigrants. So when you grow up in New York, unless you're very, very privileged and very, very isolated, you run into people of every race and in between race, and every religion and in between religion, and every ethnic group. You see all kinds of people that maybe to someone else that grows up in a very isolated place would look very strange, but you get used to it. And if you're a person of relative goodwill and reasonable intelligence, you realize that they're pretty much all good and bad. Maybe at certain periods of time, it's a little higher percentage for one than another, but that's not inherent. And if you're a prosecutor like I was, boy, you find out that everybody's got bad. Your own group and everybody else. So I used to think New Yorkers were prejudiced. And I was so proud after September 11, when my dearly departed friend Bernie Kerik and I put into effect a task force to protect the Arab and Islamic community in New York. There isn't a massive one, but there's a significant one. At that time, not as big as in New Jersey, but still significant in Brooklyn, particularly. And we put together a task force to protect them, because we anticipated that there would be attacks on the community. In fact, if you go back to the footage of September 11, you will see that during my press conference on a day in which I was dealing with, I guess, the worst day in my life, right, that day, I went out of my way to lecture in as nice a way as I could my people on not doing anything to them. I said, we don't want to become what we oppose, which are these people who are, prejudiced and hateful, and therefore nobody in this city, I trust, is going to attack someone because they think they're Arab, or I don't remember the words that I used, but Arab or Islamic, or the people were angry at the people who did it in the group they belong to, not everybody like that. And we all have problems like that, people within our group that are evil. So I trust you're not going to do it, but just in case, because I never just, I trusted but verified. I'm going to put out a lot of cops to watch you. Every day for about 2 to 3 weeks, as part of our meeting every morning at 8 o'clock with Governor Pataki and his staff and my staff, and which we held 3 times a day, there would be a report on the number of anti-Islamic incidents. We never had a terrible incident, thank God, a shooting, or we had a lot of verbal issues, calling them names, and then all of a sudden it just tailed off. About 3 weeks into it, Bernie says, I don't think it's necessary anymore, except maybe in 1 or 2 key areas, maybe 2 weeks. I was so proud, and I made a talk about it to my people, and I said, I'm very proud of you. I'm just proud of you because you're not prejudiced. Now in New York, we got a guy running for mayor against Cuomo and Adams named Zohran Mamdani. This is a hateful little bastard. Really is. There's something really sick about him. He is pro-Hamas, virulently anti-Jewish. He is, without any doubt, a communist. He wants the government to pay for. He wants free buses, free college, free childcare. He wants basically free housing for poor people. I don't know where he thinks this money's going to come from, because New York is not, so far you can't lock people in, and they're leaving in record numbers with all the burdens that already exist. Mamdani plans to finance this by much higher taxes. But he needs the state's permission to do that, by the way, for most of it. And that would only cover a fraction of his proposed cost. So, and he's filled with hatred of white people, hatred of Jewish people. He's only 33 years old. He's really never had a job that I speak of. I don't know what kind of education he's had, but I mean, he seems like he's preparing a career that ends up in prison, rather than one that ends up running the biggest city in America and the greatest city in the world. And the city has enough problems. This guy will ruin it completely. And you say, well, he'll never win. Well, he's number 2 right now. And he keeps gaining on Cuomo who irrationally is number one. Adams is probably number three. He keeps gaining on Cuomo every week. He's raised an enormous amount of money from haters. And when you do this crazy rank choice voting, where you get a certain amount of points for 2 and a certain amount of points for 3 and 4, somehow he gets really close to Cuomo, because although Cuomo is ahead in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 race, he tends to be number 2 considerably more often than Cuomo. So then he catches up. Now, how ridiculously anti-democratic is that? Who knows what number 2 means? Who knows what number 2 means? I'm not voting for number 2. I think I think ranked choice voting is absolutely unconstitutional. A vote shouldn't be ambiguous. You shouldn't get. Who gives any thought? A lot of people don't even know who they're voting for, much less the number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Where did this ridiculous idea come from? Who came up with this? This can't be a Republican idea. If it is, I'll be shocked. This has to be some idiot Democrat idea. And it's one of the ways in which these voting machines became all screwed up, because they allow fractional voting. I mean, a number 2 vote is considered half a vote, or 3 vote. You do fractional voting, and the machine becomes a calculator, not just a counter of votes. And you want to talk about a lot of the crap that went on. And watch the movie about the 2018 elections that explains it, because it's the Democrats complaining about how the machines we used to fix the election. And therefore, you won't have to trust me or Mike Lindell or President Trump. Or go look at the Democratic senators condemning these voting machines, the exact same companies, right, condemning them in Kill Chain, a movie that the people who made it have all disappeared. Now, when we tried to call them as witnesses, somehow they've disappeared. But it was a very popular movie before. It's sort of like, the best example one can use for that phenomenon is the wall. Well, before Trump, Pelosi and Schumer, I'll use just those two, were tremendous proponents of a wall. Said a wall would be great, stop people in California are in favor of a wall, all the Democrats. The minute Trump said he's going to put up a wall, that was racist, xenophobic. And for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, because the press is completely corrupt, the press never went back and said, hey, Schumer, how the hell what? It's the same effing wall. Now, how many times did they do that? How many times did they do that? They're in favor of bringing back a guy who beat the hell out of his wife and is involved in human trafficking and is a member of a violent gang, bring him back to America because Trump wants him out of America. Well, maybe it'd be better for the neighborhood if he didn't come back, not Trump. What's wrong with this political party? It's sick. Now, I told you about Zohran Mamdani, and the primary is pretty soon, by the way. They used to be in September. When I ran 3 times for mayor, the primary was in September, and boy, you had to turn your election around so quick.
June 24th.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot better in terms of getting prepared for a general election, but so for a little more than a week from now. I honestly have to tell you, since I'm not a citizen any longer of New York City or New York, I haven't paid that much attention to the debates. I mean, normally I would have listened to them, and I almost can't. I probably would feel so bad I'd start crying that my city has people like this running for mayor. I mean, one of the things that convinced me to leave New York was when a guy came up to me and said to me, hey, they ruined everything you did. It's all gone now. I thought he was being mean. And all of a sudden, the guy's crying. And I said, I have to be honest with you. I wish I could tell you, I'm an optimistic guy. I always try to tell people, you know, if you're sick, I tell you, you know, think about getting better. And I said, you're right. Sometimes I sit there and think, what the... Only justification I can feel for it is at least they knew it can be done. They know it can be done. And somewhere deep down, somebody is going to revive that. If somehow the people of the city would stop being so damn brainwashed and so lazy. I mean, de Blasio electing him a second time. So we look at this guy, Mondami. We elected de Blasio, went to Cuba on his honeymoon, supported the Sandinistas against America. Mother was a communist. Yeah, for real, a communist. He talked and acted like a communist. He told us his qualification for office was that he had black children and was married to a black woman. That's a qualification for office. And that was his qualification for office, by the way. He had no other. Cuomo and he hated each other, which made the pandemic a disaster for us. But I mean, that's one of the things that I don't hold against Cuomo, except he probably had to get over it for the pandemic. But the guy worked for Cuomo, and Cuomo had fired him because he's so stupid. Well, now Cuomo has just admitted, and he's running for mayor, that he lied under oath, and that the COVID report that he is alleged to have, he's alleged to have changed and reduced significantly the number of deaths. And he said he had never seen it or touched it, or he now says that, he didn't really remember, but he did. I did not recall seeing the report at the time. I did see it, it turns out. I'm sure I read the report. I made language changes. Now, he testified he never saw the report and he never made any changes. Under oath. And he's running for mayor. And if the administration, if the U.S. attorney indicts him, they'll say they're interfering with the election. But if you don't indict him, then isn't he above the law? I mean, they love to say that about Trump, above the law. That animal senator who almost attacked Kristi Noem and says they shouldn't have stopped him because he's a senator. Well, they'd have stopped you or me. We just run in on any person, some corporate executive giving a speech. We run in and start yelling, I got a question. They're going to grab you and throw you out. Sorry, you may be a United States senator, but given the quality of United States senators we have now, you probably are inherently dangerous. He kept yelling. He yelled once that he was a senator. I'd have looked at him if I didn't. I didn't know who he was. I still don't know who he is, to tell you the truth. See that guy? When I saw that originally, I thought it was some goon that came in and did it. He looks like one of the mafia guys I might have put in prison or something. He's not even dressed like a senator. The only thing he could have had on that would be any better is like a jumpsuit. Look at him. That's a senator? Why would anyone think you were a senator? First of all, you've only been in office a short while. Nobody knows who the hell you are. I know you think you're a household name and face, but only in your own mind, jackass. Oh, why were they so rough on the senator? there's a speech going on in a conference room with a male or female speaker. And I run in and I start yelling a question. If there's any security there, what are they going to do? And even if they know it's me, former Mayor Giuliani, what should they do? They should throw me the hell out. But they're complaining a senator shouldn't be treated that way. Isn't the real issue, and the Democrats just turn it around all the time, a senator shouldn't act that way? How about a dignified, decent human being shouldn't act that way? How were you brought up, jackass? You're brought up to do that. Your mother taught you to do that. What kind of background do you have? Who the hell are you? I mean, you could have been you look to me like one of the guys I prosecuted in some case or other. You don't look like a senator. He was at the baseball game the night before. I bet he didn't get a hit. I don't think, I mean, not too many of the National Leaguers. What? The Democrats, yeah. Well, they're like the National League.
That was good.
Well, I'm sorry. A lot of National League fans are Republicans, so I should be careful. So Cuomo is now under investigation for lying. He did lie. And this is like, so now if you indict him, you interfere with the election. If you don't indict him, you let him get away with perjury, and perjury about possibly causing the death of 15,000 elderly people, or at least their families think he did, and they want justice. And they're like real people. Relatives of nursing home patients who died as a result of the botched call also slam Cuomo now a weasel answer. I hope it's a smoking gun, said Vivian Zayas, who lost her mom to COVID in a nursing home in 2021. I hope it's the tip of the iceberg of the accountability that will come. Cuomo wants to be mayor, but he has a selective memory. Well, gee, if that was the only thing wrong with him, it'd be okay. But Fetterman and our good friend Steve Bannon had lunch or dinner together, and I haven't talked to him about it, and I'm going to call him tomorrow. I'm going to ask him what Fetterman is like, because he's about the only Democrat that makes any sense. And the stuff he says, I mean, it isn't partisan or anything. It's just like common sense. Like, I hope Israel is successful in eliminating the regime that wants to destroy us. How could you not? We could play for you 1,000 clips of the Iranian citizens who are, controlled by him, dictated to by him, or him talking about death to America. And Israel is being attacked for attacking them. Israel should get the Medal of Honor for doing it. I'm kind of embarrassed that Israel has to do our dirty work for us. This guy killed a lot of Americans. Now, I did say that I like Israel better than Italy, and it's true, I probably do. But Italy, contemporary Israel, although Israel's got quite a history too. Italy's got such a beautiful history. Of course, it has opera too, and my grandparents. The Italian-American, the New York's Italian-American of the Year, Chris Vaccaro, wants to put together an Italian-American museum in Washington. And he's got lots of people that are supporting it, and I think it's a great idea. Italian-Americans have played a very, very big part in the development of both certainly of our country, but we go back, they're critical to our civilization. Italians. No, no, somebody wouldn't say that, maybe they love Israel a little more than Italy if they were biased, right? No, I think I am amazingly fair and impartial. And I think whether I was Italian or not, like I revere the contribution of the Greeks to the beginning of Western civilization, or the Jews, I would say the same thing about the Romans and the Italians. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, even with the bad things they did. We wouldn't have the system of law we have if it wasn't the Roman Empire. You wouldn't have Europe if it wasn't the Roman Empire. You wouldn't have the best language that any human beings ever spoke, Latin, from which most of our Western, I don't know, don't get upset. Please don't. Just objectively listen to other languages and then listen to Latin. And tell me if you don't think one language really is more beautiful than any other language. Why do you think operas are in Italian? Mostly. Because it's the language that is most amenable to singing. Because of all the vowels at the end of words. But we could go into that some other time. Terrible crash in India, Ted. I mean, you kind of miss it. It would have been a world news if it weren't for what happened, I guess. But I mean, tragic. But again, another Boeing. Is that because there are so many Boeing planes? I mean, did anybody ever take a look at the proportion? In other words, the number of Boeing planes as the percentage of the number of planes who fly, and then the percentage of planes that crash. Is the percentage of planes that Boeing planes that crash higher than the percentage of Boeing planes that exist? Isn't that a good question? Shouldn't we answer that before we destroy them? I mean, it is true. I know friends, even you sometimes will say, well, Dr. Maria, ooh, is it a Boeing? Is it a Boeing? Are we going on a Boeing? I'm sure we've been on Boeings, right?
I check every time there.
Well, aren't we on? We do go on Boeings, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're
I
flying
never
every
know
week.
what I'm on.
One of us, we're flying every week. So,
But this was a Boeing 787-8 carrying 242 people bound for London. Crashed into a residential area on Thursday. Less than a minute after taking off from the state of, I can't pronounce it, Juarez.
they found the black box.
One person is known to survive. Was that it?
Yep.
Wow. That guy's going to have nightmares, or woman, right? Imagine if you're the only one to survive on a plane. I mean, obviously you're very happy, but you're also probably very spooked. Now, who knows? You might the person might have lost loved ones, right?
Gotta go play. Yeah.
The survivor was a British national seated in 11A. They recovered most of the bodies as of this morning. Within seconds of takeoff, it was clear that Air India Flight 171 was in trouble. Right away. Well, there was obviously something wrong with it that wasn't checked out. I mean, virtually it couldn't take off, it looked like. So they had a plane in Boston the same day that went past the runway, but people got injured, but nobody died because it never took off. It would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot better, I guess, if it never took off and it just went into the grass there.
Right.
But why don't we see the crash itself?
We just saw it.
Oh, I just saw it take off. I'm sorry. I was
It
shooting
off.
my big mouth off rather than looking at the screen.
Well, I gotta find it again. We'll bring it back up here. This the crash took place on takeoff.
How come we never see you, Ted?
Oh, you do, yeah.
We got a nice background for you, and
Yeah, no, I've been on this week.
but you're all dark over there.
Yeah, tonight.
That light's not on?
Yeah, No, not tonight, but this is the first night I haven't been on.
You got a tie on.
I know. We ran out of time. We got a lot.
I mean, we'll get a lot more young female viewers.
So there's the flight right there, Mayor, taking off. You can see it. See it? There it is. There it is, and then it loses lift. You can see there it's lost lift, so it starts to make its way down.
Yeah. It's not. It's
not. It's supposed to be going up, and it's going down. And at that point, there's not much you can do.
Oh.
And then it just goes down, and hits the ground. And I guess it hit so hard the fuel must.
Yeah, I know. Oh. I don't know how anybody survived.
One guy, crazy.
In 11A. Wow.
I'm gonna ask for 11A on.
You know what's amazing? That it would. It doesn't seem like it came down from such a. I wonder why he couldn't glide it down.
It was losing lift, and
yeah, I guess at that point in a flight, the plane isn't going to glide because it hasn't reached some kind of cruising altitude.
Right. So just hit. Oh, terrible.
So, there's got obviously, I mean, unless somebody fooled around with the plane, right?
Right.
No indication of a bomb, right?
No. No indication of a bomb.
It could have. I mean, it could have.
Yeah.
So on a Saturday, which is tomorrow, at 6 or 6:30 tomorrow night, there's going to be our great parade to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army. To also celebrate our victory in the Second World War, and to celebrate to some extent, or to at least remember, the birthday of our great president who's saving this country. It's going to be a great parade. It's only going to be a little over an hour, so you'll be able to take it all in. And you'll see tanks, and you'll see enormous numbers of our brave and wonderful troops who we're counting on, I guess. It's a delicate time. It's a delicate time for them, right? We don't know what's going to come about in the Middle East. Should these homicidal theocratic maniacs attack American facilities, I don't think there's any doubt we'll be at war with them. That's an act of war, deliberate act of war. It's exactly what Japan did, right? They're going to have 6,600
left and right. The general public is not.
28 Bradley fighter vehicles, 28 Stryker vehicles. Douglas C-47, 16 Blackhawks, 8 marching bands, 34 horses, and a whole bunch of dogs. I can't see the number of dogs. What a great idea. What a great idea. It's going to travel down the National Mall.
We have video of the parade route right now.
There you go. It's a beautiful part of Washington, too.
Right. Maybe we can send folks to watch the second half of Dr. Maria. The Dr. Maria show.
Oh, tonight? All right. I guess we're up to date on everything, right?
Busy week in the news.
I hope we covered everything for you. I think we did. I think we did. We make sure. Anything else of real pressing moment, and then we can send you over. Promise you're going to go. I won't get off unless you promise you're going to go. Okay. So you go to Lindell TV right now. You can see Dr. Maria. It's going to be an interesting weekend of great moment. Really, we have to see what happens with the anti-American riots, anti-law enforcement, anti-American, anti-law, anti-civilization riots. It seems to me that Los Angeles is under a great deal more control than before, which is good. I still worry because, Saturdays and Sundays, you can draw more people. And I think they are focusing on tomorrow around the country to try to create problems. And there's so much money behind this and so much of a desire to see if you can kick off a summer of disruption that they're going to work really hard to try to get it out of control tomorrow and Sunday. I think if we can get over that, in a good way, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And on the war, I think Israel just continues until they pound them until they pound their nuclear capacity into oblivion.
Right.
And maybe the regime into oblivion. I do think, I was listening to a discussion last night, and I think you had left, and I started yelling all by myself, how stupid. And I won't even say who it was. It was a reporter or a host, and he's saying, well, I wonder if this war was really to take out the nuclear facilities or for regime change. Like they're mutually exclusive. Like it should be one or the other. And the guests were like confused because they knew there was something stupid about the question, but they didn't know exactly what it was like. Well,
yeah.
Well, they did, and they're looking at different aspects of it. And it's obvious that it's for both reasons. Of course, they want regime change. I don't. Maybe I'm too critical. I don't know, but I thought it was one of the stupidest. Is this war about regime change? These guys get paid millions of dollars to do that. From being a lawyer, you get very critical of how people say things, I guess. I'm sorry. I read the portion of Matthew's gospel last night to go to bed as part of like a prayer. And it's the part about how you have to love your neighbor and forgive them and not be overly, basically don't be overly critical. I'm sorry. I'll have to go to confession, I guess. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Welcome back. This is Rudy Giuliani. And as Ted so honestly admitted, he forgot that we had Gordon Chang tonight as a guest, which is unthinkable. I mean, he's just one of the best people you could have on. Most knowledgeable on China with the trade deal with China. And so is Gordon with us?
We'll have him on in just a moment. He's setting it up.
Also, I was just looking at an update on what's going on. And it looks like Israel hit some kind of a direct strike on Natanz and took out the main enrichment center in Natanz. Maybe that's why they went back. When they reviewed it, they realized they had done damage to Natanz, but they hadn't taken out its nuclear enrichment capacity. But now it looks like they hit the main center now with some form of bunker buster bomb. And whether it'll go right down to the bottom, like the bigger ones will, it certainly will obstruct it and cost hundreds of millions of dollars to fix it. I mean, that's all you're going to be able to do with their nuclear capacity, which is set it back, but you can set it back years. And you can bankrupt the hell out of this country with the sanctions that are on them already. They're a country that's having tremendous financial problems, tremendous problems with their citizens. And if they're going to have to spend another $500 billion or $1 trillion to get up to speed on nuclear, bye-bye. But it looks like the attacks tonight were possibly even more accurate than the ones last night. I guess tonight was an opportunity to go back and fix what you didn't get right last night. Remember, the Israeli focus is on taking out their nuclear capacity. The others are also important, but that's their major focus. The Iranian focus is to kill Jews. They're not, it doesn't seem to me they're attacking their military facilities at all, which does actually seem rather stupid, but it gives you an idea of they're a terrorist nation. And the reason to go after the civilian population is to terrorize the people of Israel. You would think they'd realize that that's not going to work. If there's any country in the world where that strategy wouldn't work, it's probably Israel. Israel, you're wasting your missiles hitting the cities. You should try to take out their military capacity if you're capable of it and you know where it is. Can't believe they can't figure out where some of it is, at least. But I haven't seen any indication of any concentrated strike on the offensive or defensive military capabilities of Israel. Meanwhile, you're getting bombarded with attacks by them. And what the offense that first of all, I mean, you're actually not defending against it at all. You don't have a defense system like Israel does to stop most of them from coming in. And you're not using offense as a defense. The only reason I can think of, because they're not stupid. They are insane, but they're not stupid. The only reason I can think of is they really don't know precisely enough where the military facilities are, which would mean they are as inept at intelligence as they are at ground warfare. The reason they're doing this is they would be incapable of really having a ground warfare confrontation, possibly even with Israel, certainly with the United States. People estimate it would be over faster than Iraq was over. And also you'd have a more compliant population, sort of like you had in Italy and France, as opposed to, like we face in countries that are hostile. You've got a population that is fed up with this regime to a tremendous extent, to the extent of putting their lives at risk by going out there and here's the new general. There's a picture now of the new general who's taken over. He looks like another Islamic extremist maniac. Well, it sounds like we're having trouble getting through. Well, please apologize. Well, please apologize for our mistake, Ted. Well, I'm sorry that we held you up. So let's see if I can get you any more information on. We're going to take a look at downtown Los Angeles for a moment and see what's going on there. Well, my hope that it had calmed down completely is shattered. I see burning. God, they love to burn things, huh? These animals. And there's the Mexican flag again. There's a group on the other side that's holding an American flag. Uh-oh, they just put it down on the ground. Uh-oh. 2 Mexican flags. And there's a guy walking around with an American flag. I don't know if he's a counter-protester or he's going to do something horrible with that flag. Now, there's a 3rd Mexican flag. What is this? In Mexico, I mean, these guys declaring war on us? Pardon me? Plug what in? Did you hear? Did you hear? All right. I did that. What would you like me to do now?
Oh, I thought you had something on the screen.
No.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were playing something. Sorry.
Well, tell me what we're doing, Ted, because this is kind of.
Yep. All right. Well, we're gonna.
Well,
Sorry. You can hear us?
I'm as confused as you are. Shouldn't be that way.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll try one more time.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. I hope you actually went over to see Dr. Maria on Lindell TV. She's still be on. You can catch the concluding part of the show if you haven't. And we thank you very, very much for staying with us. And again, we ask you to pray for the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine and the people of Iran. And of course, for us, particularly with all of this turmoil we have going on, and pray to God that what I saw in Los Angeles is just a limited little thing they have under control. because this has been going on for too long. Now, it is true, they are a place without any leadership at all. I mean, it's pathetic. The mayor and the governor are pathetic. After the fires and now this, defending the criminals and therefore encouraging them. Well, have a good weekend. Enjoy the parade if you get to see it. Let's hope that Israel gets this over with quickly. Let's hope that these crazy pro-criminal riots calm down. And let's ask God to deliver us, because that's the only source of deliverance, really. So thank you very much. We'll see you on Monday, unless we have to come on. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense.